Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second day of BLF 2021. We bring for you interesting sessions on art and culture for this evening for the next 2 hours. So please stay glued to your seats and continue watching all our sessions. We commence today's sessions by Saraswati Vandana, sung by none other than Miss Kalapani Konkali, who is the daughter and disciple of the legendary Pandit Kumar Gandharva. This performance was the opening performance for BLF 2020.
एक छोटी सी बंदिश से शुरुआत करती हूँ। राग का नाम है भीम पलास। तो भीम पलास में एक छोटी सी बंदिश और उसके साथ में एक तराना, दोनों ही कॉम्पोजिशंस मेरे पिता और गुरु पूज्य पंडित कुमार गंधर्व द्वारा रचित हैं और संयोगवश 12 जनवरी को उनका पुण्यतिथि दिवस है, his death anniversary. So I'm going to dedicate this small gathering today here to Kumarji. So I'm going to begin with a rag called Bhim Palas. Thank you so much. आ
Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to this session of Maharaj of the Skies, an Indian heritage, based on an archival exhibition on the Air India. The exhibition emphasized the transformative influences that the airline has had on the culture of the nation. It also created a platform on which India stands as one of the few nations of the world that can boast of such a vast and developed aviation industry. The presentation would cover some of the core areas of where the influence changed the way it existed. The fields, the, the fields are defined and the influences narrated in an exhibition held between 12th to 17th of Feb 2020 by the Society for Culture and Environment in partnership with Air India and in collaboration with Aero Club of India and airindiacollector.com. On behalf of my team and supporters, I would like to narrate in short how this journey of aviation wove the fabric of our national history with vivid colors and pictures. On the February of 1911, the first airmail was carried on a wood and canvas plane that flew from the polo grounds of Allahabad to Naini across the Yamuna. Motilal Nehru's letter to his son Jawaharlal was in the mailbag. History was created. The commercial airmail service could, however, take place only when in 1932 J.R.D. Tata carried mail, literally carried mail, delivered by Imperial Airlines from London to Karachi. This was carried into his tiny de Havilland single-seat Portsmouth to Juhu Flats in Mumbai. The plane had to halt at Ahmedabad to be refueled by Burma Shell. The fuel was sieved through chamois leather and brought in canisters carried on bullock cart. Is an iconic image, emphasized more so by the fact that navigation was with the help of survey map, compass, and a divider. Portsmouth was carried by JRD as his personal luggage on a ship from Naples and on arrival at Ballard State, tied onto the back of a bullock cart and trundled to Juhu Flats, a distance of 20 kilometers. This simple beginning of a mighty aviation empire was reminded again and again to the people by the reenactment of the journey. JRD was an avid aviator and loved his machines, which he often fidgeted with the simple tools he carried on himself. When asked about the most satisfying experience of his life, he said instantly, the flying experience. No other can equal the excitement of the first solo flight. Only next to this solo flight thrill does he place the opportunity to build up a great world airline. The early creation of Tata Airlines, which ultimately became Air India, was based on this love and passion of a stalwart among men. Tata Airlines, Tata Airlines made great progress and profits, much of which came from the princely states of India, an importance that influenced Bobby Cooker, a partner in crime, says Jadi, into the making of the ever so successful icon, the Maharaja. Tata Airlines then and Air India later participated in the national missions for from very early stages of its inception, sending in their planes to airlift people from war zones. This is the slide showing J.R.D. Tata delivering mail at Gwalior and then coming to Bhopal and delivering the mail in Bhopal. in his VACO, YOC-6 plane. Next slide, please. Tata Airlines then and Air India later participated in the national mission from very early stages of its inception, sending in their planes to airlift people from war-torn areas. The airlift from Kuwait carried out from August 30, 1990. Air India evacuated 170,000 people by civil airline, the biggest ever mission by a civil airliner, gaining an entry into the Guinness Book of World Record. Here you see the rescuing civilians in Punjab. In 1947, Douglas DC-3s were sent to rescue civilians from Punjab. In 1948, Air India International was granted status to operate international services from India as the designated flag carrier when 49% of the airlines was acquired by the government of independent India. On June 8, 1948, just after midnight, Air India's inaugural flight on the constellation named Malabar Princess, a 40-seater Lockheed L749 Constellation, registration number VT-CQS, with Captain K.R. Gazdar in command, took off from Bombay. On board were JRD and his wife, the Jam Sahib of Navanagar, and industrial naval Wadia, among others. Bombay, London by way of Cairo and Geneva with return trip took 3 days. The return trip happened 3 days later, was the fastest available between UK and India, taking less than 24 hours one way. Constellation was replaced with Super Constellation and with the interior designs by the iconic American industrial designer Henry Dreyfuss. Henry Dreyfuss designed ergonomically. It was the first time ergonomy was introduced into the design, and slumberette seats and wide aisle enabled the airline to add edge to their passenger service. Being a small organization amongst the global giant like BOAC and TWA, Air India concentrated on building its fleet based on passenger comfort and the technological efficiency of its aircrafts. Right from inception, Air India's endeavor was to be among the most technological advanced fleet in the world. Air India became the first airline in the world to have an all-jet fleet when they sold their constellations to purchase 747s. Now, this shows the journey of all the planes which were bought by Air India, right up to 707s, right up to Constellation, actually, Super Constellation. Next, please. Advanced maintenance capabilities were established under the experienced hand of V.G. Gadgil, who had worked on all the aircrafts from Pussmoth, Foxmoth, Miles Berlin, Vaco, Rapid D at 86, Stinson Trimotor, Beechcraft, DC-2 Dakotas, Vikings, Constellations, and Boeings. Air India's engineering base at Bombay Airport, approved by Federal Aviation Admin of US, was comparative to the best in the world. Air India's training school for pilots incorporated the latest virtual technology, which simulator was the highest quality training experience. Here you see the simulators. Next, please. The entire operation from purchase of machines to the training of pilots was meticulously photographed and recorded in albums. The albums made for one of the rare and precious archival records with clearly marked dates and persons on each photograph and each leaf. The importance of making and maintaining records developed a culture of pride and value within the organization that stood them in good stead for a very long time. The efforts in the sky were supported by establishing important landmarks on the land. Located at the most visible spots of the bay, the Air India building could be seen from across Marine Drive. A 23-floor, air-conditioned, simple multi-storied building with blank facade gave it an eternal quality that became such a race that when it was opened, security was needed to ensure crowd control. The escalator, which took customers straight to the booking office, was the first ever in India. With Santor on the top, the transformative impact extended beyond Nariman Point. Nariman Point was where it was located, and then it was followed by other urban centers where hub of high-rise came up as modernist architecture was adopted as a vision of urbanism. The coming of 747 unleashed a whole new cultural vocabulary to the airline's expression. Having experimented with aircraft interiors in the 707s, the sheer size of the aircraft pressured the in-house art studio working overtime. Under the guidance of Bobby Kuka and the inclusion of Jal Kavasji, the expression acquired a completely new dimension. And you can see the jumbo comes to town, the humor in this photograph. Indian culture was now being displayed to the full. Krishna mythology, villagers in leisure and work, Ajanta paintings, sculptures, paintings, ancient and modern, expressed and displayed on the walls of the cabin of the aircraft and on the walls of the booking offices, transposed the given spaces into India. The motto was, when you enter an aircraft, you enter India. I would now like Uttaraji to carry forward the discussion on the culture that Air India adopted and became.
Thank you, Meera ji. Good evening, everyone. As Meera ji said, when you enter an Air India Boeing, you enter a true India. This was the motto. To create product differentiation and offer a unique in-flight experience to passengers, Air India devised exclusive aircraft livery and interior decor. As far as the livery is concerned, the aircraft windows on the exterior were fashioned into Rajasthani arches, which gave the aircraft a distinctive look. Indian art was the inspiration for the motifs featured in the exotic interiors of the Air India aircraft. The sidewall panels featured specially created drawings of different themes to create the Indian ambience. The erstwhile upper deck lounge, a picture of which Meeraji showed you earlier, of the first few Boeing 747 aircraft, had special semicircular murals created by artists like R.V. Sawant to match the name of the aircraft. The interior designs were developed by the in-house art studio of 7 artists. Alternative window panel themes would be created, and the final selection was made by Mr. J.R.D. Tata himself when he was the chairman. For the initial fleet of Boeing 747 aircraft, the Air India studio created motifs depicting episodes from the life of Lord Krishna in traditional miniature style. It was called the Krishna legend. These were featured on the window panels of the interior, framed by Rajasthani arches, and there were different color schemes in different seating zones. Celebrated artist B. Prabha was appointed to present the theme Indians at Work and Indians at Leisure in her unique style for the later Boeing 747. The Airbus fleet had visuals from the Ajanta murals, and for the remaining 747s, the approved theme was a calico theme inspired by the textiles in the Air India collection. Here you see a range of drawings created by artist Prabha on the theme Villagers at Work and Villagers at Leisure. You see the villagers engaged in their daily activities and also relaxing after work. Every aspect, if you see over here, you have the fisherwomen and you have the women selling flowers, you have them doing rangoli, you have the children flying kites. These were the different aspects of villagers at work and at play. Every aspect of the interior was addressed. Bulkheads, carpets, upholstery, all were specially designed to complement the window panel theme. No other airline has such decorative interiors, and in fact, the Boeing team was absolutely delighted to implement these exotic aircraft panels and partitions for Air India. The designs were done by the Air India Art Studio. Boeing had to implement them, and they were delighted to do it. So were the other vendors from all over the world. For example, our upholstery supplier in Netherlands, who was producing our specially designed upholstery, was so proud to be associated with us that when we visited them to approve their samples, they hosted an Indian flag on a pole at the entrance of their factory for the entire duration of our stay. Over to Meera ji.
Thank you, Uttara. One of the most important aspect where Air India influenced the entire trajectory of the cultural trajectory was in the area of air hostesses. From 1950s through 1980s, Air India girls, as young air hostesses are still referred to, were so elite, sophisticated, and well groomed that every affluent bachelor in India wanted to marry them. Margaret Burke White. Now, Margaret Burke White, the American photographer, known for her insightful pictures of India Pakistan partition, shot a series of some chosen Air India hostesses for the famous Life magazine. The fashion of Air India air hostesses remained westernized for 2 decades, till the beginning of 1960s, when sari was adopted as part of the rebranding of Air Indian in foreign newspapers and magazines. And you can see this was the first sari that the Air Indian air hostess wore. It is a Banarasi sari. They were invited to various functions to various functions to teach people how to wear a sari. The air hostesses were trained to wear a sari in a particular way. Designer sari clad Air India air hostesses. Designer sari clad Air India air hostesses brought glamour closer to the Indian audiences. They became a rage, and magazines would not stop talking about them. They became the it girls of Indian society, and their well-groomed Western continents made them an ideal to follow for urban Indian homes. It had a transformative impact on the Indian urban society and cinema. Well trained in safety regulations, hospitality, courtesy, service, warm and smiling air hostesses of Air India, they were all well trained by people, various people from across the world, became the icon to emulate. No efforts were spared to train them. General Moots from TWA was invited to train the young girls. Vidal Sassoon is shown here grooming the hair of an Air India hostess, Ruby Barucha, en route to London to New York. Many other such events were held with the large cosmetic companies where they were trained in doing proper makeup. Next, please. I would like Uttara to talk about the menu cards. Now, we're talking about the in-flight services. So the air hostesses, and what else was added by way of added value? Uttaraji, can you please talk about?
Yeah, thank you, Meeraji. As an extension of the objective of promoting India, in-flight menu cards were designed with different series of special images on the cover page. You featured here is one each of a series, and these were periodically changed. Many menu cards featured items from the Air India collection also, and they were collected by passengers. Over the years, the themes included reproductions of traditional glass paintings, reproductions of miniature paintings, contemporary art, British and French lithoprints of India, and rare embroidered and woven textiles from Sringar, the Air India collection of costumes of India. When the Pope, special menu cards were prepared when the Pope traveled on Air India. You can see the menu card here, and these became collector's items. In fact, whenever we had VVIPs on the flight, we used to design special menu cards for them. Here you see in-flight crockery for first class passengers. The motif over here is, the motif featured here is from the calico theme, which is the in-flight decor of some of the aircraft. This specially designed crockery by Geeta Simos, she was a graphic designer, won an award for the best airline crockery design. This motif you see is taken from the in-flight panel of some of the Boeing 747s. Now, until the turn of the century, the main point of contact, of passenger contact for an airline was the booking office. To extend the unique experience for the passengers, Air India focused on creating exquisitely decorated booking offices all over the world. Passengers were welcomed into a rich Indian ambience. Booking offices were located in prime areas in every city. For example, L'Opera in Paris, Bond Street and Barclay Square in London, and Fifth Avenue in New York. The interiors of the booking offices were designed with great care and embellished with traditional as well as modern Indian art, which added color and life to the office. No other airline booking office in the world could boast of displaying such a wealth of aircraft. On display were paintings and sculptures by well-known and budding Indian artists, as well as intricately carved traditional wood carvings, metal figures, stone images. And the hallmark of these offices were the specially commissioned murals for display behind the booking counters. Indian artists were specially commissioned to fly to countries across the network, to work on site, and to create the spirit of India abroad on these murals. This not only gave them the opportunity to travel to new lands, absorb and learn, but at the same time, they became cultural ambassadors of India. From cutouts by Hussein in Geneva to Shanti Dave's murals in Frankfurt, from Shavak Chawla's murals in Washington to Bendre's work in Brussels, and the cement bas relief by Achrekar in Osaka, Air India has given wide exposure to India's rich heritage of art, establishing itself as one of the foremost cultural ambassadors. With display of Indian art, every office was a corner of India in different parts of the world, and Air India was proud to have achieved this. We'll just quickly go through some of the booking offices. For example, this is the Paris booking office. This booking office had a door, if you can see on the right-hand bottom corner, that was the entrance door to the booking office. It was composed of specially selected 20 wooden identical size panels intricately carved with 1,000 figures. These were the South Indian wood panels. 20 panels, matching panels, were composed into this door. Over here you see a big Natraj, that is a 5-foot Natraj which stood at the window facing the road. and it was a cynosure of all eyes. It created a lot of interest of passers-by. Next. This is a general view of the Bond Street, London office. Next. Displayed here were a series of paintings on women of India by B. Prabha. These were the first paintings bought by Air India. So you can see the paintings on the left, and you can see a corridor facing the road where they were later on housed at Berkeley Square. You can also, at the bottom, you can see a large metal embossed peacock covering an entire wall. There is a mirror on the right, so you get an impression that it's a huge mural. Visitors to the room booking office enter through a decorative archway of glass mosaic. That's above the Air India logo there. The highlight of the office was a large oil-on canvas by Shanti Dave, a lyrical portrayal of village life in India. Two large bas-relief cement pillars, you can see them. These featured carvings from Sanchi, and they flank the staircase leading to the upper level. Also displayed are paintings by eminent artists like Shavak Chowda, B. Prabha, S. Kumar, and Vinod Shah, which give glimpses of Indian dancers, village, and village life. Wooden carved brackets and slender bronze images are strategically placed, as you can see all through the office. These complete the Indian aura created in the heart of Rome. Prague office again, there's an exquisite selection of stone sculptures facing the road and painting by B. Prabha, and a mural running above the counter by painter S. Kumar. And a quick glimpse of offices all over the world featuring Indian art. For example, you have Vienna, where again, which has a painting by S. Kumar. His speciality was depiction of Indian village life. Air India acquired several paintings from him and also commissioned him to execute this mural at Vienna and a couple of other booking offices. At Bangkok, you can see a mural by B. Prabha behind the booking counter. At Osaka is a cement bas-relief mural by M.R. Achrekar depicting Shiva in various aspects. From booking offices to another area altogether. It was around the mid-1950s that Air India embarked on the production of specially designed large-size wall calendars with exquisite imagery. We cannot underestimate the importance of a wall calendar at that time. An interesting wall calendar was not only a reminder of daily activities, but could also brighten up an office or a home. The gift of a calendar to a contact or a friend could develop business relations and would hang for an entire year on the walls of the recipient's home or office. The Air India calendar was the most sought after promotional item. People waited to receive their annual calendar and would call it if they were delayed. Many times they would personally visit the office and request a calendar. One can never forget one gentleman from South Africa who traced us all the way from Durban to Nairobi to Delhi to Bombay just to acquire one special calendar, which I will be showing you later. Designing and production of the calendar was the function of the publicity section of the commercial department, which also included an art studio with 7 artists. It was a year-long process. Starting February, when we would get a feedback on the previous year's calendar, compare calendars produced by other companies. Then we would have brainstorming sessions, discuss possibilities, discuss various themes, and finally bring it down to 2 to 3 alternate visual representations of various themes. Final visuals of these 2 to 3 themes would then be developed and dummy calendars would be ready by March end for presentation to the chairman for approval. Mr. J.R.D. Tata himself reviewed and approved the theme while he was there. Depending on the theme, there was a whole lot of activities: appointment of a photographer, selection of models, commissioning of artworks, finalizing objects to be featured, and so on. The calendars had to be produced and printed and ready by mid-October to be dispatched to all cities on the network so that before end December, Air India could distribute to all contacts well on time. In fact, the entire experience of creating these brilliant calendars was unparalleled. Of various calendars made by Air India from 1950 till 2007, 2008, there were some which were outstanding. One of the calendars was a calendar done by Henry Clark in 1969. As part of our arrangement with Vogue Paris, a very famous Vogue photographer, Henry Clark, was appointed to take pictures for the 1969 calendar. He came to India with his English assistant, with his Argentinian Vogue editor, and Swedish and Irish models. One Indian model and one air hostess were also to be models, and Henry Clark chose Shobha Rajadakshe, who's now Shobha Day, and Maureen Keenan, who's now Maureen Wadia. Escorted by an Air India officer, which happened to be me, the group, carrying select outfits from Malabar Boutique at the Taj, traveled to Delhi, Agra, Srinagar, Khajuraho for the exquisite fashion photographs promoting Indian tourist locations. The highlight was a trip to the President's bodyguard at Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the Irish model posed with two horse-mounted bodyguards for the February page. Here on the right, you can see the Irish model with the President's bodyguard. Next. Another interesting and unusual calendar was the calendar called Miniatures Recreated. Here you have, here on the left, the center picture is one of the pages from that calendar. It was a 1983 calendar. The idea was to reproduce select miniature paintings, but one of the characters in the painting would be replaced by an actual model in an exact pose and replica of the costume. So we went to Delhi and we went to the National Museum, Delhi, selected suitable paintings, interviewed hundreds of models to find the right 12 who could fit as miniature figures. An Oscar Award winner, Bhanu Atharya, did an exemplary job of recreating the costumes and accessories. The photographer was Vilas Bhende, who photographed these models in correct pose against an enlarged background of the painting, and we had this award-winning calendar. This picture on the center, on the left side, that is one of the, you can see the model replacing the actual model on the painting. Another hit calendar which was much talked about, was the 1970 calendar. It was a black and white calendar by Jangu Gassar. You see one of the pictures of the calendar on your right over here. It was a black and white calendar, the unique presentation of a woman's beauty, creatively featuring her eyes, hands, feet, hair. This made the calendar a hit. The demand for this calendar continued over the years and across countries. It was for this calendar that this gentleman from South Africa traced us all the way from Durban to Nairobi to Delhi to Bombay just to acquire a copy of this calendar. Of course, helping Mr. Gazzar to select the models was a task in itself. It meant looking for models with good ears, good eyes, good feet, etc. It was really a task. So these are some of the very special calendars we have produced. I will now invite Ajuni to speak further on another special calendar. Ajuni?
Hi everyone, good evening. Um, I'll be talking about this calendar, which was made by Tommy Ungerer. He was an Alsatian artist known for his children's books, political drawings, and posters. When he moved to New York in the 60s, Ungerer started working on magazine advertisements, a then lucrative vocation, with J. Walter Thompson. Since Air India was a major client of JWT, presumably through that connection, Tommy made 12 posters for Air India in 1969. Each poster showed a representation of different cities that the airline was destined to, with a glimpse of the Maharaja in a few of them. These posters were the ones that were turned into the calendar of 1971. Ungerer also wrote an in flight children's book for Air India called Ungerer Meets the Maharaja and a desk diary based on the same. Can you go to the next slide? Um, Similarly, the posters of Air India were adapted into the Rogue Gallery diaries, taking us through the history of Air India's advertising, which you will see on the right side. They created two of these diaries, and this is one of them. Okay, next. Yeah. Gifts were part of most flights of Air India. They came with very interesting takeaways for their customers, including diaries. Uh, they came like diaries, keychains, fans, matchboxes, scarves, coasters. Their branding was extremely experimental, so much so that in one of the matchboxes, you could see the Maharaja's face on the head of a match. Among the experimental and most prized to this date giveaway is something that was created by Salvador Dali. As you may or may not know, Salvador Dali was a painter best known for his work in the Surrealist movement. In 1967, in New York City, he was spotted by representatives of Air India. The representatives asked for a meeting, and knowing Air India's connections with art, Dali readily agreed. The result of this meeting was an ashtray which would be gifted to 500 of its first class passengers. The ashtray was packed in a styrofoam package, closed with Air India tape, and a brochure attached to the top. Styrofoam, though being in the market for a few decades, had gained its use as a packaging material only recently, once again showing the want and need to be contemporary by Air India. The booklet stated, "It's the world's most unusual ashtray," and held information on the objet objet d'art. Sorry, it's a French word, so I was trying to pronounce it right. Sorry. Um, the fourfold brochure shows a sketch of the ashtray, presumably made by Dali, signed with the crown that he had recently started using as part of his signature. A picture of an elephant and a swan, and the Maharaja on one side. The other had a picture of Dali holding the ashtray along with the description. The reflection of an elephant's head looks like a swan, and the reflection of a swan appears to be an elephant. This is what I have done for the ashtray. The swan upside down becomes an elephant's head, and the elephant inverted a swan, said the artist in the description. This idea was taken from one of Dali's own paintings named Swans Reflecting Elephants. This painting was made using the paranoid critical method, under which Dali was trying to develop his discovery of the double image. This method included the artist invoking a paranoid state, which would lead to the deconstruction of the psychological concept of their identity. This would then leave only subjectivity as the primary aspect while creating an artwork, helping the mind to create connections it wouldn't have otherwise. Dali worked with Jules Tessonnier, which can be seen by the inscription at the bottom of the ashtray. It's the fourth image on the left. Uh, who converted his sketches into porcelain ashtrays in a factory in the city of Limoges, a city known for its high quality porcelain. One of the other symbols was the nautical design in the center of the ashtray, which is the third image. Uh, I, I'm sorry, I'll just repeat what I just said. It got muted. Um, One of the other symbols, which you can see in the third picture from in the on the left, was a nautical design in the center of the ashtray, which reflected Dali's self image of his years. The artist was known for having various signatures, and on the ashtray, placed one near the mouth of the snake, which you can see um, in the second image on the left. The sign indicates the constellation Sagittarius, commonly represented as a centaur. The centaur holding a bow with the arrow pointing outward was the mascot of Air India before the Konark Swan. As compensation for this piece, Dali got $10,000 but wanted one more thing, an elephant. Air India agreed and sent a baby elephant to Figueras, Dali's birthplace by air, from Bangalore with a mahout dressed as the Maharaja. Go to the next slide. On 21st, um, on 21st September 1967, the elephant arrived and was given a big celebration by the city. Dali wanted to ride him down the Pyrenees mountains to the city, but instead was convinced to just walk along with him down a petal strewn path of a hill. Once they reached the city, Dali took them to the site of the children's theatre. It was planned that the elephant would climb on a glass platform, but failing to do so, Dali himself climbed it and announced, "The Dali Museum will be the magnetic center of universal civilization," explaining that this was the site for the future Dali Theatre and Museum. After this event, a special drink made with wine, Indian tea, and pink champagne, which was Dali's favorite, was served to the guests. The official entourage then dined in the Hotel Duran. Dali named the elephant Surus, inspired from Hannibal, who had rode across the Pyrenees on the back of Surus, his elephant. Dali was inspired by this story since he was a child and wanted to do the same with his own elephant. After the event, Dali took Surus back to his house in Port Legat. Eventually, Surus became too much to handle for Dali and he sent him to live the rest of his days in the Barcelona Zoo. I would now like to pass the mic back to Ms. Uttara Parekh, who will speak on the famous in-flight wedding.
Thank you, Ajuni. Air India organized the first ever traditional in-flight wedding. This was a wedding held on board an aircraft. In October 1994, the wedding ceremony of Dilip, the son of Mr. Lakshman Popli of Popli Jewelers, Mumbai, was conducted on an Airbus 310 aircraft as it made its flight from Mumbai, circled over Ahmedabad, and returned in 2 hours. It was a 2-hour flight, Mumbai, circling over Ahmedabad, and back to Mumbai. During this flight, the wedding took place. All arrangements were made in keeping with prevailing regulations and safety standards and with a proper DGCA approval for the flight arrangements. The airport terminal area, check-in counters were all decorated with red carpets, flowers, and banners, and guests were issued specially designed Hawaii Bandhan tickets and boarding cards. You can see over here the design that was used for the in-flight wedding and which was reproduced on the in-flight, the tickets and on the boarding cards. You can also see the decorated counter. As the guests boarded, Shehnai music was played on the PA system, followed by wedding songs. 8 seats were removed in one zone for the wedding ceremony, which was performed by priests seated in a mandap, chanting holy mantras but without a holy fire. Fire is not allowed on the aircraft. Special crew was assigned for this flight, and Master Chef Sanjeev Kapoor arranged a 3-tiered cake and gourmet snacks served on the Royal Doulton crockery, which you saw earlier. The event was a great success and got international press coverage. This was the first time any airline held a wedding in flight. And Air India's gift to the couple, free tickets to Switzerland for their honeymoon. Now, let me introduce you to the brains behind the creative processes of Air India. Mr. S.K. Kuka, Bobby Kuka, as he was popularly known, Oxford educated personality with an unmatched sense of humor. His motto, "We have to be different to be noticed," was behind his creation of the Maharaja, along with artist Umesh Rao of J. Walter Thompson. The Maharaja went on to become the most recognized mascot in the world. Mr. Kuka was known for his witty hoardings and tongue in cheek humorous publications. The hoardings were his passion, and they had to be topical. Often on some current issue, he would have a brainwave at night, call in the agency first thing in the morning, and the hoarding would be created, finalized, and painted before the end of the day. This was Bobby Kuka. Jal Kawasji, he was the founder of the Air India Art Studio in the early 50s. He was a portly, jovial personality with a great sense of humor, which remained with him till the end. Appointed by Mr. Kuka, he was the head of the publicity section and the art studio for about 25 years. During this period, he leveraged the Maharaja mascot to great heights, and with his guidance, the studio produced a treasure of award-winning promotional material ranging from posters, calendars, diaries, and brochures to every customer interface item. He is also to be credited for initiating and building up the Air India art collection and being instrumental in creating unique interiors for Air India aircraft. This picture, dated approximately 1970, features the publicity section. This is the publicity section team, the officers, and the art studio artists. I'm delighted to have been part of this team and later was in charge of this section. In case you cannot recognize me in the picture, I'm holding pride of place sitting next to Mr. Kausji. And on to the Maharaja, the ubiquitous mascot, the Air India Maharaja. Next, please. The ubiquitous mascot, the Air India Maharaja, represents a valuable symbol of the airline and was used with subtle humor in advertising, namely the iconic hoardings and worldwide advertising. The Maharaja also featured in a large range of promotional items like posters, giveaways, and displays, and a valuable collector's item, the first flight covers released with the stamp of the Postal Departments of India and the country of first flight to the destination. These items have been kept in safe custody over the years. Meeraji, if you can take over further about the Maharaja.
Thank you, Uttaraji. So some Jal Kawasji, who was the commercial manager publicity, had to say some things about the Maharaja. He says some 30 years ago, a lovable thing happened in Air India, the Maharaja. And till 1938, the sales of Tata Airlines was handled by Thomas Cook. Then the airlines opened its own sales office at Churchgate. Kuka showed his flair for marketing by deciding to decorate the show window of the office with the symbol of Eastern hospitality. Bobby Kuka asked an artist, Umesh Rao from JWT Advertising Agency, to draw the figure of an Eastern potentate smoking a hookah on a flying carpet. The Maharaja was so good, we never changed him, says Kuka. Next slide, please. The little Maharaja, the symbol and mascot of Air India, about which JRD had this to say: I want to establish that this is no airline which is better liked, that there is no airline which is better liked by passengers, that is safer and more punctual, where the food and service is better, and where seats are a and better image than Air India. And ever bowing Maharaja was a symbol of that service. We have an emblem It's this. We call him a Maharaja, says Bobby Kuka about his Maharaja. He says, we have an emblem. It's this. We call him a Maharaja for want of a better description. But his blood isn't blue. He looks like royalty, but isn't royal. He portrays hospitality and service. We like him because he's so typically Indian. He can't be copied by the opposition. But that he hasn't prevented enterprising countrymen of ours for registering him as their trademark. Many people try to register Maharaja as their trademark. So we have had to fight for his honor, in quotes, says Bobby Kuka, the creator of Maharaja, in his labor of love. So you can see the Maharaja is a tailor Maharaja, a doctor Maharaja, a Maharaja who's weighing himself to probably to donate. Next, please. The story of Air India is incomplete without its advertising and promotion, built mainly around the incomparable, imitable Maharaja. The advertising was created in the in-house art studio, the first in any airline across the world. The best artists were called upon to create the most differentiated communication. The panels in this section take you through the award-winning posters, hoardings, cards, calendars, giveaway, newspaper advertisement created by Air India's advertising agencies who worked in tandem with the art studio, all under the creative direction of Bobby Kuka, commercial director of Air India and the creator of the Maharaja. Advertising, Air India creative team realized the value of one's image much before management became the full-time career option that it is today. At the center of Air India's image was the Maharaja who set the tone for the witty, funny, and very topical Air India's advertising. He became a brand builder and a game changer who immeasurably strengthened Air India's brand image. Special reference can be made to Peter Arno. This is a Peter Arno advertisement. Special reference can be made to Peter Arno's 12-page advertisement for Air India. He was an American cartoonist during the 50s when markets realized the potential of caricature in advertising. Air India graceful hostesses were often a part of the advertising campaign. You can see them here. The tongue-in-cheek tone of the voice started a new advertising genre in the country. Sales letters from Air India were works of art. Many were written in verse and had illustrations to match. One of them was written to 27 shipping companies with whom Air India had an arrangement to fly back their customers from abroad. It featured the Air India version of Old English ditty. My bonnie sailed over the ocean. My bonnie sailed over the sea. I thought it was a horrible notion till Bonnie came back. Next slide, please. The first commissioned work, Mario Miranda was commissioned work by Air India. The first commissioned work that Mario Miranda did for Air India were illustrations for the staff college, where he made 15 frames based on the different departments of training. After a few years, in 1993, on the occasion of Air India Diamond Jubilee, an exhibition was held featuring his drawings after being converted into puppets by puppeteer Brij Kul Deepak. You can see the puppets here, brilliant puppets, 15 to 18 inches tall. The characters and the backdrops were made to represent the destinations where the exhibition traveled, like the Air India headquarters at London, Paris, Tokyo. The puppets were installed with city-specific backgrounds drawn by Mario himself. Mario perfectly captured the essence of Air India destination and their people. Next slide, please. The poster whisk you away to the days of Tata Airlines, Air India International to Air India today, basically taking you on a time travel. They take you to faraway places, so space travel. And the Maharaja, they explore the psyche of a city, often with a touch of humor, always via unforgettable ideas. Next. Many of these posters have won awards at home and abroad. Many have won acclaim and many have won anger. The Moscow poster had a splash of local color, but the big bear growled loudly. The Paris poster touched on the inside story, but the French were not amused. The Brussels poster caused a mild tremor in India and was banished from sight. The London poster added further gloom to the British tourist machinery in Australia. And there was a diary which was published which showed all these, you know, uh, much maligned posters. Venus de Milla thanked the little man for unearthing the missing limb and allowed him to take liberties. Leonardo da Vinci never again to touch a brush, and the Duke of Wellington was ready to ride to war again when he discovered that the Maharaja was preferred to him. I would now like Uttaraji to come and talk about the art collection, Air India's art collection.
Thank you, Meeraji. Air India has a special place in the art world as the only public sector corporation in India to have initiated, developed, nurtured, and built up a large and diverse art collection. The genesis of the collection can be traced to the aviation scenario of the 50s and 60s. As a fledgling Indian carrier operating in a fiercely competitive environment of giant airlines of the West, in the words of Mr. Bobby Kuka, who was then the commercial director of Air India, we had to be different to be noticed. It was decided that the best way to stand out would be to project our unique Indianness, a quality that no other airline could emulate. And Indian art and craft became the vehicle to propagate the unique Indian character. It all started when decades ago, a young painter recently graduated from art school approached Air India with a series of watercolor portraits of rural Indian women in regional costume and finery. In keeping with its policy to promote Indian art and culture, Air India acquired 6 of these paintings and featured them on the in-flight menu cards. These were then sent for display at the Air India booking office in London, where they attracted tremendous attention. These first acquisitions were by now iconic artist B. Prabha. Believe it or not, we paid a meager sum of 87.50 rupees per painting to her at that time. Here on the left, you can see these same paintings, which were when the office was shifted from Bond Street to Berkeley Square. 3 of these paintings were put up again, and they are facing the road at Berkeley Square. With acquisitions spread over 5 decades, today the collection has over 8,000 items in various categories, modern and contemporary to traditional, folk and antique, in a wide range of mediums from oil on canvas to watercolors, metal, stone, ivory, wood, textiles, etc. In addition, there is a collection of 54 costumes from all over India, which is designed as a traveling exhibit and has been showcased at prestigious venues at several international destinations. There is also a unique collection of mantle and wall clocks from USA and European countries, and a selection of archival photographs from the Lala Deen Dayal studio. Many of these artworks are displayed in the Air India booking offices and administrative offices in India and all over the network. A collection was also maintained at headquarters for distributing the artworks as required and to use them for reproduction in various Air India publications like calendars, diaries, etc. Over the years, Air India leveraged the art collection by reproducing select items on customer interface of items like calendars, diaries, postcards, gift sets of large size reproductions, and in-flight menu cards. Motifs from Indian art were also created for the in-flight decor of the aircraft. In the words of Mr. Tulsi Das, one of our chairman and managing director of Air India, today Air India boasts of one of the largest corporate collections of ancient and contemporary Indian art. This unique collection, of which we are justifiably proud, is large enough to fill a museum. I now hand over to Meeraji to take this further.
Next slide, please. Air India. Air India has a good collection of reverse painting on glass. The reverse painting on glass, the paintings of warriors on horses from the collection is of special interest, as they depict characters from Shahnama, the epic stories of the kings written by Persian poet Firdausi between 979 and 1010 CE. Iconography of Rostam and the hero of pre-Islamic period of Persia may have connections with the Parsis in Gujarat and Mumbai, who may have been patrons of these paintings. The South Indian reverse painting on glass called Tanjavur is most prolific and visually powerful art form of India. The technique that requires drawing in reverse with the finer lines and details to be drawn first show gods and goddesses wearing plenty of gold jewelry that shows off well in these pictures. The technique that was imported from Europe via China was more prolific in the southern and the western regions of the country. Painting from western region, paintings from Western India centers were executed by Chinese artists, initially who painted portraits and landscapes. As you can see here, they displayed an interesting combination of Indian and Chinese elements, such as Chinese style chairs, Indian hookahs. In Awadh, although the focus of the artistic activity continued to be miniature painting, there are some fine reverse glass paintings which show historic personalities and possibly courtesans. Next, please. The world of Indian sculptures, especially the outer walls of temples, the divinities have a particularly important role to play in the universe. They are either protective deities or destructive ones. The representations were not confined only to gods and goddesses, they also included human, trees, birds, animals. These sculptures usually occupied niches or panels, pillars, lintels, plinths, walls, or the higher galleries of the temples. Modern stone sculptures in marble and other materials such as wood and metal also forms part of Air India collection. These are all come from Air India collection. A young contemporary set of artists, Pilu Pochkanwala, Raghav Kaneria, B. Vittal, this is V. Vittal's brass cast, and other created a modern idiom using industrial materials such as scrap iron for the sculptures. Traditional technique of bronze casting and other ancient metal sculptures added to the range of art collection at Air India. The contemporary art collection of Air India, published in the 3 publications on the subject: Air India Art Collection 2008, published by Marpin; Air India Art Collection, Air India Salutes Indian Masters, a catalogue to go with an exhibition of the National Gallery of Modern Art, published on 2013; and Air India Collection Limited Edition. These are the 3 published, and what we are showing are the works which have been published. This is Raza Gaitonde, one of the most celebrated works that Air India holds in its possession. Piraji Sagra's work, 1960. Next, please. I would like Meenakshi ji to talk about the Air India's contribution to sports. Meenakshi ji. Over to you, Meenakshi ji.
Thank you, Meeraji, and a very good evening to all. Air India has been supporting lots of activities and increasing the cultural ethos of the country. And that can be seen from the legendary paintings and the painters whom they have supported. And they never, they also supported a lot in sports. So, in keeping with its commitment towards the nation building, Air India played a very big role in promoting sports. It has been actively encouraging upcoming players and supporting various disciplines of sports. From the very first international flight in 1948, Air India's intention to support sports was apparent when it carried two cyclists for the London Olympics along with the Prince and other royalty. Over the years, Air India continued to support Indian Olympic sportspersons and international and national players, among others. From sponsorships to permanent positions in Air India, the support came in multiple forms. Special privileges like passages and other facilities were made available for participating in various competitive sports within and outside India, thus providing exposure to the upcoming bright and exceptional players. Outstanding players were recruited in several disciplines. At one time, several top cricket players were with Air India. To name some, I think Mahinder Amarnath, Sanjay Manjrekar, Narinder Hirwani, MS Dhoni, Harbhajan Singh, Yuvraj Singh, VVS Lakshman, Suresh Raina, Robin Uthappa, Praveen Ambre, Nikhil Chopra, Irfan Pathan, Anjum Chopra, Anju Jain, Julian Goswami, Pramila Bhatt, Karuna Jain, Purnima Rao, and others. The game of cricket had a great representation in Air India. The Indian hockey team was almost synonymous with the Air India hockey team. At one time, more than half of the national team comprised players from Air India. Legends such as Ashok Kumar, PP Govinda, Aslam Sher Khan, Zafar Iqbal, Mervyn Fernandez, Daryl D'Souza, Anil Aldrin, Edgar Mascarenas, Frederick D'Souza, Dilip Tirke, Dhanraj Pillai, Harinder Singh, MP Singh, Mukesh Kumar, Sujit Kumar, Jagbir Singh, Muhammad Riaz, Atif Idris, Muhammad Arif, Ashish Balal, Subaya, Samir Dad, and were some of the shining stars. The Air India National Hockey Academy, based out of the Dhyan Chand Stadium at Delhi, produced many national, international hockey players for the country. Upcoming players were recruited in several disciplines. Ace shooters such as Gagan Narang, Aarti Rao, Anuraj Singh, Vivek Singh, and chess masters like Vijay Lakshmi, Tejas Bakre, and Tanya Sachdeva were among the many who earned support from Air India while they went on to script sporting history in their respective fields. Air Indian A. Maria Irudium was the first Cara world champion from India and the lone recipient of the Arjuna Award in this field. Air India Kabaddi team had stalwarts like S.D. Bhavsar, Ashok Shinde, Ganesh Shetty, and Thakur brothers Ajay and Dinesh. The Air India Sports Promotion Board is energetically involved in supporting and promoting sports and creating a sports culture in the country. Promising and talented youngsters are selected from all over the country and granted opportunity to represent Air India at top level sports as contracted and scholarship players. Apart from representing Air India and donning the national colours, established, well reputed, and experienced players are serving sports in various capacities. They serve the nation, government institutions, sports federations, state associations, etc., and promote sports as coaches, managers, officials, advisors, or technical experts of the game. Some also promote and popularize games through TV as experts and commentators. Air India's top management and sports control board understand the importance of nation building through healthy, competitive, and entertaining sporting activities and has always given high importance towards promoting sports. Air India also organizes many national and international tournaments to promote sports. Besides many other awards, it also won the President's Award for Outstanding Contribution by a corporate in India in 2012. India served the nation and contributed significantly in promoting players and sports just as it has done to art and art, artists. Air India is proud of its 11 Padma Shri, 31 Arjuna, 3 Rajiv Khel Ratnas, and 1 Dronacharya awardee among its family. I request Meeraji to take over from here. Over to you, Meeraji.
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. We held this exhibition, as mentioned, this entire presentation is based on the exhibition that we held in Mumbai from 12th to 17th of February 2020. It was inaugurated by Lohani ji, who had been a great support to us all along. Next, please. Next. Here you can see Sanjeev Kapoor. They just came, we called them, and they, all of them came, one and all. Sanjeev Kapoor is one of the chief chefs, master chef. He has a long standing with Air India. In May 1993, he curated and presented Pakhtuni Dawat, an in-flight food festival of the cuisine of Northwest Frontier for our first and executive class passengers. Next, please. These are just views of the exhibition, which was attended to, very well attended. Next, please. And these sportsmen were
Jagbir
our
Singh.
stars. Yes.
Yeah, we see Jagbir Singh, Gagan Narang, Zafar Iqbal, Praveen Amre, who added to the celebrity glitter of the exhibition last year.
That is a team. And we had several air hostesses to support us. They added a lot of glamour, definitely. Next, please. We had Shobha Dey, who visited us.
Shobha Dey attended the exhibition.
Shobha Dey attended the exhibition. On behalf of the society, we gave them our gifts.
That's Rakesh Sethi.
That is Rakesh Sethi, the celebrated chef. And at the comment section, where the visitors were told to write, there was a queue at one time. People really wanted to write, and I saw visitors crying, when they went around and they saw the exhibition. They were reminded of the old times, and yes, we were very happy we could move them. That is our team, and we're very grateful to our president who came there in spite of his very busy schedule. And these are our acknowledgement. We are very grateful for all the people who supported us. Of course, Mr. Ashwini Lehani at the helm of things, Air India, and our team, and the Air India team, Mr. Vinod Hejmadi, Meenakshi Malik, Rajendra Nath, P.P. Singh, Nirbhik Narang, Madhulika Babal, Melville De Silva, H.R. Jagannath, Sanjay Gupta Ji, Sunil Arora, Sherwan, Shangari, Vinod Hejmadi Ji, Harish Pai, H.R. Sharma, Sharat Kadam, Sharad Harale, Madhu Sajnani, Mukesh Bhatia, Ravi Budade, and Western Region team. The entire art department was there. Art and advertising department was there, and they were a great support to us. I particularly like to thank my team members, Huzur Chaudhary, Aparna Verma, Ajuni Bhogal for their contribution in the design, Sulakshna Chaudhary for administrative support, Mr. Raghav Chandra for his moral support, Ankur Bose, Sandeep Sharma, Akash, and Rashid from Plank for production of this exhibition. This would not have been possible without the unflinching and continued efforts from Meenakshi Dua, my partner in this venture, and Uttara Parekh as a repository of knowledge. We would like to thank all our collaborators, AirIndiaCollector.com, Aero Club of India. Most importantly, we are grateful to all our sponsors. Thank you very much.
It was a beautiful presentation and the slides were very beautiful. Thanks a lot, Uttaraji. We learned a lot about Air India. I've been traveling through Air India flights, but I never realized the rich cultural heritage of Air India. Thanks for enlightening me and all our viewers. Thanks all our panelists. Now we move towards a very interesting session which is titled Wild Wonders, which will be presented by Ms. Shailaja Srinivasan. And Ms. Shailaja is a children's books editor. She's based out of Bhopal and she studied geological oceanography, and in her spare time she loves to do gardening. She's going to present us beautiful presentation on wildlife and different aspects and different facets of wildlife. Over to Shelja ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rinalini, for that lovely introduction. Hello and welcome, everyone. In 2020, I had the privilege of co-curating with Dr. Meera Ishwardas a photography exhibition of Bedi brothers' work. Wild Wonders was an exhibition of large-sized photographs of animals in their habitat. Bedi's work has been exhibited extensively, and they used their stunning photographs and films to draw public attention to the cause of conservation and species preservation. Rajesh and Naresh Bedi, eminent wildlife photographers, need no introduction. They've been photographing in various varied terrains for over 50 years, and they've been recognized with national and international awards and have a long list of firsts to their credit. The first capture of how gharial hatchlings go from their nest to the water, capture of wild dogs, bar-headed geese, first photo documentation of the shy red panda or the elusive snow leopard. They've had the patience and perseverance to document animal behavior on film. It's a lot of hard work to make it look easy. Their work has appeared in nearly all the leading national and international magazines, like the National Geographic and Life. Last year, Sri Abhilash Khandekar and I were also in conversation with the Bedi brothers. Today, I'm delighted to bring you a glimpse of the exhibition and a few snippets from the conversation. But first, let's hear in Rajesh Bedi's words their own experience of BLF 2020.
नमस्कार, आज मैं आपसे अपने एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में बात करना चाहता हूँ जो पिछले साल भोपाल में आप लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल के दौरान मैंने अनुभव किया। इस एग्जीबिशन में ज़्यादातर बहुत सारे लेखक और बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग जो कि पत्रिकाओं में बहुत अपना योगदान देते हैं, और इस फेस्टिवल में मुझको और मेरे बड़े भाई को आमंत्रित किया गया, और इसमें जो मेरा सब्जेक्ट था वो था एक वाइल्ड लाइफ की फ़ोटो एग्जीबिशन। और उस एग्जीबिशन की खासियत मैं कहूँगा कि पिक्चर्स के जो साइजेस थे बहुत बड़े थे। उसमें 40 बाई 60, 50 बाई 60 बड़े साइज़ के फ़ोटोग्राफ्स थे, और उनको बड़ा बनाने का मकसद ये था कि लोग अपने आप को उस परिस्थिति में फील करें। जैसे हाथियों की बात करते हैं तो हाथियों का एक बड़ा भारी झुंड है, तो जितनी बड़ी तस्वीर है जो कि ऑलमोस्ट आपका लाइफ साइज में दिखती है, उसको देख के उनका अनुभव और तरीके का होता है। और इस एग्जीबिशन में जो फोटोग्राफ थे वो स्पीति से, लद्दाख से, कॉर्बेट से और काजीरंगा से, अलग अलग प्रांतों से जो मेरा कलेक्शन था। और मैंने इस बात का ख्याल रखा क्योंकि भोपाल जो है वो मैं कहूँ मध्य प्रदेश शेरों के लिए बहुत मशहूर है, तो प्रायः वहाँ के जो लोग हैं वो दूसरे शेरों के प्रति शेरों के मुकाबले में और जानवरों को देखना चाहेंगे। तो इसमें हाथी, बर्ड्स के बहुत एक बड़ा कलेक्शन था, और लद्दाख में स्नो लेपर्ड पिछले 5 सालों में हम दोनों ब्रदर्स वहाँ पे एक बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं स्नो लेपर्ड के ऊपर, जो कि 3 फिल्में हैं। तो उसमें से एक फोटोग्राफ है जिसमें कोई 4 घंटे तक हम लोग बर्फ़ पे बैठे रहे और इस इंतज़ार में कि स्नो लेपर्ड दोबारा वापस अपने किल को खाने के लिए आएगा, जो उसने एक माउंटेन गोट को शिकार किया था। और वो आया और जिस तरीके से मीलों तक, आप यदि फोटोग्राफ में देखेंगे, दूर दूर तक सिर्फ सफ़ेद स्नो दिखती है और उसमें 2 छोटे छोटे फिगर हैं, वो एक स्नो लेपर्ड की है और एक उसका किल। और इसमें ऐसी कई तरह के जो पिक्चर्स हैं कि किस तरीके से वाइल्ड लाइफ जंगल में आपस में विभिन्न प्रकार के जानवर एक ही जगह को किस तरीके से इस्तेमाल करते हैं। तो और इस एग्जीबिशन का जो मेन मकसद था कि लोग जानवरों को समझ सकें, जानवरों का एनवायरनमेंट समझ सकें और ये मैसेज लेके जाएं कि जानवर कितने खूबसूरत हैं, कितने इनोसेंट हैं, इनको मारना नहीं चाहिए, जंगल को बचाना चाहिए। जंगल को क्यों बचाना चाहिए? क्योंकि फोटोग्राफी एक ऐसा माध्यम है जिसको देख के एक संदेश जो आप देना चाहते हैं वो सीधा सीधा संदेश आपके जो दर्शक हैं उन तक पहुंचता है। और इसमें एक क्वेश्चन आंसर का सेशन था जिसमें हम दोनों भाई थे और लोगों के अनेकों सवाल कि इस तरह की फोटोग्राफी करने में कोई जोखिम तो नहीं उठाना पड़ता, क्या इक्विपमेंट यूज़ करते हैं, कॉस्ट क्या होती है, कहाँ फोटोग्राफ को बेचा जाता है, वाइल्ड लाइफ फोटोग्राफर का फ्यूचर क्या है। ये बहुत सारी एक जनरली हम लोगों ने उस क्वेश्चन आंसर जो अब सेशन था उसमें हमने बातचीत करी। और मैं ये कहूँगा कि इस एग्जीबिशन को बनाने में, वहाँ पे लगाने में जो ऑर्गेनाइजर्स थे उन्होंने बहुत ही उदारता से मेरी बात को माना और इस एग्जीबिशन का सारा खर्चा उन्होंने उठाया, जो कि काफ़ी बड़ा खर्चा था। और हम लोग जितने दिन भी वहाँ रहे बहुत ही एक अच्छा वातावरण था। अनेकों लोगों से मिलना हुआ, चाहे वो स्कूल के बच्चे थे, बड़े लेखक थे और मैंने भी बहुत कुछ सीखा वहाँ जाने से। और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि 2022 में ये इस तरह का फेस्टिवल हो और मेरे से इसमें जो भी योगदान हो सकता है, मैं इस तरह के एक अच्छे कार्य के लिए हमेशा अब तैयार रहूँगा। धन्यवाद।
It's a pleasure to have the Bedis back again here. Next, we are going to see a brief film of their vast portfolio of the various terrains that they have photographed in and their experiences of hot air ballooning in the air. Next, we have a few glimpses of the exhibition itself. These are slides of the photographs that were displayed in the gallery last year. Wild Wonders, a photography exhibition by Bedi Brothers. The 2020 festival logo was inspired by Rajesh Bedi's iconic photograph of a coiled elephant trunk, the most extraordinary body part in the animal kingdom. The elephant's trunk is a fascinating, expressive, and an almost alien feature. It offers endless opportunities for captivating pictures. The fusion of the nose and the upper lip, the elephant's trunk is a most versatile tool. It's used for breathing, smelling, touching, grasping, and producing a wide variety of sounds. For the continued viewing pleasure, the exhibition duration was extended after BLF, and it was installed in the Alliance Francaise Bhopal Gallery. The gallery in Alliance being set up. A Himalayan black bear stripping the bark of a sisu tree in the foothills. Dalbergia sisu, commonly known as the Indian rosewood, is a fast-growing hardy deciduous tree which is native to Indian subcontinent. An average black bear weighs between 90 and 120 kgs and measures almost 65 inches nose to tail. It is amazing to see that rosewood tree with its slender trunk supporting the black bear climbing it. For this photograph, Rajesh Bedi won the Photographer of the Year award in 1986 in an international wildlife competition held in the UK. You see visitors to the gallery. A nature photographer is at the mercy of existing natural light. So wouldn't it be great if one could carry a small sun to direct when and where one wishes? This frame showcases the skill of the photographer, capturing the lone majestic elephant in the first rays of the sun filtering through the jungle. A lone majestic tusker. A lone tusker again. Elephant mothers carry their babies for nearly 2 years before giving birth. Then they ensure that the babies get the best food, teach their children the most useful skills, and show their children how to lead the herd during hard times. These majestic animals are known to have strong bonds and mourn for their dead. There's anecdotal evidence for grieving and death-related rituals. One such anecdote told of members of 3 different families who came to visit the body of a deceased matriarch. smelling and touching and repeatedly passing the corpse. Here is an injured infant or a baby elephant. Elephants know that mother knows best. The herds are matriarchal. The oldest female elephant plays a key role in controlling the social network of the group and in ensuring the survival of the family. Elephants are ecosystem engineers. They excavate water holes and fertilize land and help other species to thrive. In his extensive and diverse elephant portfolio, Rajesh Bedi has focused and captured individual elements, tusks, trunks, and skin. Elephants have incredibly wrinkled skin to retain moisture, as elephant skin has no sweat glands. The ear elephant's skin is generally thinnest behind the ears, and to cool down fastest, the elephants will spray mud or water behind their ears so that the circulating blood can cool it down faster. An elephant can pump its entire quantity of blood through its ears in every 20 minutes. They take dust and mud baths to cool down their bodies. The thick but sparse hair on elephant's body also helps it to keep cool. Elephants are social animals. That is, they spend a great deal of their time interacting with each other members of their group. Elephants are highly intelligent and are capable of developing a clear, distinguishable social structure. Here, Bedi has captured the bond of an elephant herd. They've also been an integral part of festivities in temples. The tradition of elephants decorated in all their finery is a long-standing custom and is seen even in the stone carvings in temples. Elephants are regarded as sacred animals as they share a link with the elephant-headed Lord Ganesha. Capturing both the beautiful animals and habitat, the Bedis create context within the image. How many different species use the same jungle and coexist. Being herbivores, elephants pose little threat to other wildlife, so the chance of encountering other well-known species in the proximity of these gentle giants is high. Barasingha is the state animal of Madhya Pradesh. Here, a Barasingha stag is seen with grass on his horns, perhaps remnant from antlers cleaning exercise. The Barasinghas clean their antlers by thrashing grass with them. Naresh Bedi has designed an elephant tripod, which is used extensively by filmmakers these days, especially to film tigers. Rajesh Bedi captures a cute moment of the tiger intensely focused on a bee. This amazing photograph has caught on film both the big cat and the tiny bee. To defy death in the jungle for the sake of a rare photograph. How close do you think our intrepid photographers were to capture these two lions in mid-battle in Gir forest? When you follow the rules of the jungle, animals occasionally pose for the camera. Rhino and cattle, beautifully captured with the landscape from a different viewing angle. A picture taken from air. The rhino is very large, and one can zoom in on the horn, ears, or the head of a rhino as it is grazing or drinking. Often birds are photographed with the rhinos as they sit and ride on them. We can see egrets with the rhino here. Tips for photographing birds. Identify your subject and isolate. Anticipate behavior. Let the birds come to you. And select your background, test exposure, arrive early, stay late. Himalayan monal pheasant. Sarus cranes. A group of pelicans and a single bull. A sure-footed mountain goat running down a snowy slope. You can see the hoofs spraying the snow. It's almost running into the waiting lens. Challenges faced as expressed by Nareshji to photograph in remote locations, to assemble resources. They face many odds: inaccessible habitats, sensitive animal behavior, and extreme climate conditions. Taking photographs at night has magic all of its own, with obvious challenges, biggest being the lack of light. Here's a beautifully captured nightscape, a yak silhouette against a dramatically starry sky. Our intrepid photographers, Rajesh Bedi and Naresh Bedi, together known as Bedi brothers. So we had a conversation with them last year. Snippets of that I'll bring to you now. And Rajesh ji, when he was asked about his favorite animals, elephants without a doubt are Rajesh ji's favorite animals. And he has also photographed sadhus extensively. So here in the clip, he tells us why he considers elephants as yogis of the jungle. But before we move away from elephants, I have a specific question for Rajesh ji. That not only are they your favorite animals, you call them yogis of the jungle. So I'd like you to please tell our audience, why do you find them as yogis of the jungle?
For me, the elephants are the most, they're very calm. They, like yogis, they take bath, they put a lot of dust like yogis do. After having a bath, they will put ash, sadhus, and they meditate in the forest. They don't bother you, they don't trouble you. And whatever they do, they take their own time. They decide when to drink water, when to rest. So I find them like yogis. And especially when they come out from the water and do a lot of dusting on their bodies, and they turn their body colors brownish or white in color. So I see, because I love shooting sadhus and elephants, so I see almost many similar things between these two. And my next book is on elephants, which I've been collecting pictures since almost 40 years now. And hopefully next year it should be published.
My co-host Khandekar ji asked Rajesh and Naresh Bedi to describe the challenges they faced in the jungle while capturing interesting animal behavior. This is what the Bedis had to say.
The challenges, because you have been in the field for last more than 50 years, which is not a small time. So capturing 50 years in this such a small duration is not possible. But what were the challenges that you faced in to do this thing in the videography as well as the still photograph? So whether it was tiger or it was smaller this thing or maybe the snow leopard. हिंदी में चलेगा हिंदी में चलेगा
नहीं यहाँ भी चलेगा इनके बाद चलेगा
मैं भी ये पूछूंगा
देखिए फोटोग्राफी के लिए every animal, every habitat poses its own problems. Just getting a portrait, just getting a record picture is fine, which is simple. Simple, I mean, it's not difficult. But to getting beyond that, to get anything interesting or any rare behavior or at least some behavior which will make a picture interesting, it takes time, it takes patience. You have to wait till they do certain things. And when will they do that, you are at their mercy. So you have to wait, nothing else. Not only wait, then you have to wait for the proper light. Most of the animals are active late evening or early morning when the light was not sufficient. It was earlier, but now with the technology, with the digital technology, with fast lenses, fast film speed which you can use, better sensor, that problem is over. But still, the challenges of getting anything unusual, anything interesting about an animal is important. And from the film point of view, I can say it's not just getting one shot or two shots. There you have to make a sequence, so in which you need number of shots to make an interesting sequence of their behavior. And to make a complete film about that particular animal, you have to wait at least a year and a half, the whole season when things happen.
Breeding and everything.
Breeding, and the breeding, of course, breeding, care of young and all that, fights for, so that all makes it interesting for the viewers to observe about the animal, which is time consuming. Also,
amphibians को कवर करना या birds को कवर करना या capture करना या इसको करना, उसमें ज़्यादा दिक्कत कहाँ आई?
Birds are easier, I would say.
देखिए ये
आपकी बाहर एग्जीबिशन बहुत बढ़िया लगी है, सब लोग आप देखिए, मैं एक रिक्वेस्ट वापस करना चाहता हूँ, उसमें हर तरीके का वाइल्ड लाइफ का वो दिख रहा है, तो इसलिए मेरा प्रश्न ये था कि वहाँ पर बर्ड्स भी हैं, वहाँ पर एम्फीबियंस भी है, वहाँ पर टाइगर भी है और बिग मैमल्स.
देखिए हर एनिमल का के लिए चैलेंजेस के पैरामीटर्स अलग अलग हैं. If you are shooting big animals like elephants, tiger habits are very different. It's a cat. Elephant is different. It's a big elephant, big animal. The way they move, you have to know basics about that particular species on which you want to work. Now he was mentioning about the new technology, new cameras, digital cameras. In spite of all this new technology, I think basic principles are same. Good light, that's the most essential part of wildlife photography. If you don't have good light, you can record a happening, you can record an incident, but people enjoy your work, which you want to share with them. It has to fulfill all the parameters like good light, good action, and this is where it's more time consuming. I'll give you one example when I'm referring to the light. First, I think I will cover There's a question about how difficult or how easy it is to photograph birds. I think birds, a lot of people think they are quite easy to photograph, but I think photographing bird is a very big challenge because they keep jumping.
Says that it is easier, perhaps, may not be easy, but easier among.
For example, activity on the nest. If you have a nest, you know the birds is going to come and feed, provided you don't disturb him. That's the most important.
तो मैं इनके challenge पहले सुन लूँ और फिर bird.
So, अब nesting bird की बात कर रहे हैं भाई साहब. ये एक बड़ा debatable issue है कि nesting bird की photography करनी चाहिए या नहीं करनी चाहिए. मैं इस favor में हूँ कि करनी चाहिए, provided you are a right candidate and you qualify those qualities with the, and you know the animal, you know the bird, you know their behavior, and it's almost certain that you are not going to disturb the whole cycle of their breeding. What is happening these days, all these youngsters, IT boys and girls, they buy good equipment and they want to capture things without knowing very basics about them. They just want to go click picture, and while they are in the jeep, they're on safari, they want to have likes and that's the kind of attitude they have.
तो आपका कहना है कि disturbance नहीं होना चाहिए birds को nesting.
लेकिन जो आजकल की generation है, उसपे प्राय आपको ऐसे बच्चे मिलेंगे. Patience नहीं है. उनके लिए मोबाइल फोन और कैमरा, ये दो एलिमेंट बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हैं. उनको उसी समय आपका लाइक्स चाहिए, यार मुझे 20 आ गए, मुझे 10 आ गए तेरी पिक्चर के ऊपर. वो बर्ड ने अपना नेस्ट छोड़ दिया या उसमें से वो बच्चों को छोड़ के चली गई, वो कहाँ उनको देखना, कौन नहीं देखना. जो भी सीरियस फिल्म मेकर है या सीरियस फोटोग्राफर है, उसकी क्वालिटीज़ ये है कि वो सारे पहलू को सोच के वो चैलेंज करें. और यदि आप ये रिकॉर्ड नहीं करेंगे तो आप बच्चों को कैसे बताएंगे, बच्चों को कैसे एजुकेट करेंगे, जो आगे की जनरेशन है, कि बस्टर्ड के कैसे अंडों का रंग होता है, कैसे वो इंक्यूबेट करती है, कैसे आती है, कैसे जाती है, क्या प्रिकॉशंस आपको लेने हैं. तो ये बहुत अहम पार्ट है नेचुरल हिस्ट्री फिल्म का, कि उसका साइकिल जब तक आप कवर नहीं करते, और इसी वजह से कई दफ़ा एक साल में आप काम नहीं कर पाते पूरा, 2 साल लग जाते हैं, कई दफ़ा 3 साल में लग जाते हैं. कि पिछले 2 सालों में किसी दिन बहुत ज़्यादा बारिश हो गई, उसके अंडे खराब हो गए, या जैकॉल्स ने या फॉक्सेस ने उनके अंडे खा लिए, आपके तो 2 साल खराब हो गए. तो ये बहुत अहम पहलू है जो कि जिस पे आदमी डिबेट कर सकता है.
There were many questions from our audience. We present snippets of only 2, but the Bedis shared very generously from their experience. Here they talk about conservation and advice to young aspiring wildlife photographers.
Sir, I've been pursuing wildlife photography for the past 6 years. So I've been pursuing wildlife photography for past 6 years. I'm a student also. So what advice can you give photographers like me to pursue in this field and get accomplished?
Okay, I think it's very, very basic that before going to any park or any animal you want to shoot, you must study the animal. You speak to people from the surrounding areas to know about the animal, to know about the bird, what time they come, when they come. Have basic knowledge, that is one. Have patience, don't be in a hurry, and always look and wait for good light.
You spent some more than 50 years almost in the wilds, and you've seen conservation in various phases all those years. I just want to know from you, what's your perception of how the conservation scene has changed in the country in the last 50, 60 years? We have seen the days when Project Tiger was launched. We had a few hundred tigers, and then went up, then we came down again to maybe 1,000 tigers. Now we have some 4,000. We have problems of plenty, many areas. We have too many elephants. Sometimes we have too many tigers, too many leopards now. So how we have, I mean, can you detail your journey a little bit, how things have changed and what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Even in COVID, when people used to say कि वो forest guard ने आके ठप्पा लगा दिया आपको दिखाने की उसके footprint है, that was the time I have seen first mark दिखा दिया कि ये तो रात को शेर गया यहाँ से, so that was the time. And then even I have seen when we were young in near Haridwar, the tigers hunt camps were there. People say, अरे वो फलाने नवाब साहब का लगा, ये वो फलाने महाराजा साहब का कैंप लगा, इधर नहीं जा सकते, वो tiger hunt was. And then I saw this Project Tiger coming up, Mrs. Gandhi, and luckily we had some interaction with Mrs. Gandhi, and Rajesh's first book, Forward, was written by Mrs. Gandhi. And in fact, I spoke to Rajiv ji many times during my filming trips to Jabalpur and Kana, and he used to be a pilot, and we had a lot of conversation, even in the cockpit, how your film is progressing and all that. So I said, why don't you ask Mrs. Gandhi to come and visit Kana? That was one of the reasons which persuaded her to visit Kana. That's just the history now. But working so hard. I remember that that prince who landed in Ghana, for which the whole the strip was made. Mamni Dada mein.
That was much before.
वो तो कह रहा वो समय से करते हुए how everything the tiger project, tiger parks were created. Tiger has benefited. A lot of protection has been given to with the habitat approach. It has worked. It has certainly given more space to the animal. But now I think we are looking at a different kind of problem. Tigers have increased. Other animals have increased. They are moving out, not finding enough space, fighting for territory. Animal conflict is on the increase. For example, there is a lot of elephant problem, which is a huge problem. The population, although what they say is come down as a census, but the still number is so huge. I mean, we were just talking earlier with you, they were talking about, I think the management is very important where what we are lacking, which we were discussing with you. I think the management of the wildlife is very, very important at this point. How do we manage? How we control this elephant population? How they are crop raiding, killing people? And same with the tigers or leopards going out and mauling children or elders. So that's a huge problem, which we have to look into.
I think it's a very, very complex situation where you have animals on one side and humans are suffering because of tiger attacks, man-eating problem, elephant crop raiding. So how to draw the line, whether are we prepared to cull, say, elephants, they are in such big numbers, but are we prepared or not? That's a debatable point. But I think sooner than later, in India, we have to think, we have to take these kind of measures to control the population of animals.
So the time is up, Mamajan. All good things have come to an end. Thank you very much.
On that note, I'd like to thank both the Bedi brothers, my co-curator, Dr. Meera Das, my fellow host from last year, Abhilash Khandekarji. And I hope you enjoyed revisiting Wild Wonders. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shalu. Your co-host, Mr. Khandekarji, is also here at the moment. And I would just invite him to kind of say a few things about his relationship with Rajesh Bedi, as also his, he's an expert on wildlife and environment and everything. So if we could have Mr. Khandikarji come in.
Certainly.
And
Handing over to him.
very fortunate to have him with us. Now you have. Can you please on your audio also? Yes, please.
Yeah, both are.
We are very grateful that we got Rajesh Bedi and Naresh Bedi introduced us to him and to them, and we would like you to say a few words.
No, it has been a very good experience that we had last year, and Shailaja ji has already explained the details of the wonderful exhibition we had, and it was really good of the Bedi brothers to have come all the way to Bhopal, because Madhya Pradesh has been the center of wildlife activities and large number of national parks, sanctuaries, and tiger reserves. But we never had this kind of wonderful exhibition put up by any of the eminent wildlife photographers. Mm, there are not many in Madhya Pradesh, but and there is nobody to match actually the Bedi brothers. And I recall, even if it is about a year ago, that large number of people who thronged the Bharat Bhavan to not only attend the BLF sessions, they also watched in a big number the extraordinary exhibition. And as Mr. Bedi was saying on this video a few minutes ago, that the best part was that many people did not see the exhibits in such a large size, which is actually kind of a, you know, huge elephant frames, or the tigers or the birds. And the fact remains that while Bharat Bhavan has been hosting art exhibitions and other shows, this was definitely a different show, and is etched in the memory of those who visited Bhopal during the 3 days of our BLF last year. The fact remains that Bedi brothers have, through their camera, done a lot for the conservation of wildlife also. It is not just photography like many others do, but they are the second generation, and now Naresh Bedi's son also is into videography and nature photography. So there are three generations devoted to wildlife photography, and the hard work they have put up and the understanding they have developed for various species was at display in Bharat Bhavan during the BLF. And I'm really happy that when I and our president, Mr. Raghav Chandra, met him at the IIC, he was instantly ready. Very humble brothers, and they agreed to come over and put up their show. And later on, because of Shailaja ji, we also moved it to the Alliance in Bhopal, and later I took it to Indore. And again in Indore also, people were actually mesmerized to see such exhibits, because people in this area may be watching birds or maybe tigers, but not really a single on rhinoceros or the elephants and the baby elephants. Some of the photographs of baby elephants were just extraordinary. So I think BLF has done a good job. I mean, we are all part of it. That while we are promoting book culture, while we are promoting literature, we are also promoting art and the environment. And this exhibition will definitely go a long way in contributing to the cause that we are espousing. And thanks to the Bedi brothers if they are listening to this. But fact remains that such wonderful exhibitions should actually go to various towns in Madhya Pradesh and other places also, to create the much needed awareness for wildlife conservation. While they have put in about 60 years in this particular field, I still feel that the new lot of photographers with new equipment and new technology are still way behind the Bedi brothers technology and their their skills. So this is not to demean any other photographer, but the Bedi brothers definitely stand head and shoulders above most of others. And at this age, both are, I think, 70 plus. They are still going to Spiti and trying to capture the snow leopard, which is an extraordinary effort. And wildlife photography, if we have seen, most of the photographers go into the wilds for photographing essentially the tiger. And Madhya Pradesh is one state where we are getting some wild elephants from, but Madhya Pradesh has not been off late. It was a really great opportunity to see the exhibition in Bharat Bhavan.
Thank you very much, Khandekarji, for giving your inputs into this. I hope and request you that in 2022 BLF, we shall have a much larger section on the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shailaja ji and Khandekar ji, for this lovely interaction. And clearly, the love that Bedi brothers share for wildlife conservation and wildlife habitat is depicted through their works. Thank you. We were actually mesmerized through this presentation and the motivational words of Bedi brothers, that how we should actually understand the habitat of the animals, especially birds, and then we should go for the photography. So thank you so much for this beautiful and wonderful interaction. Now we move towards the last segment of today's session, which are snippets from BLF 2019 and a performance by Shefali Rashid.
Hello, Bhopal. So whenever I sing in Bhopal, I get really nervous for some reason. I don't know why. I think because I've moved here recently and it's all very exciting. Tried to mix my songs around, infuse some jazz into it. I hope it works. Next song is an oh song. Yo, Dad, this one goes out to you. Oh no. Burri bimari. But burri bimari lagi mujhe to ye teri zindagi. But burri तो ये तेरी जिम्मेदारी, मोहब्बत बुरी बीमारी लगी तुझे तो ये तेरी जिम्मेदारी, मोहब्बत बुरी। Jazz Bollywood song that I sang in a movie called Bombay Velvet, and that one went out to my dad. We've gone back into jazz. जैसा ये बदन जना मिला तुमको, मन में सोचता जैसा रूप तेरा आया नजर हमको, सितम खुली खुली ये सनम गोरी गोरी ये बातें गंदी है यूं, हमें तुमने जब गले लगा तो खो ही गए हम तो, हम्मा 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 हे 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 हम्मा to Akash also. Luckily, there's no bottle on stage.
There's water bottle.
It's only water.
Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart. Cause you're a sky full of stars. Cause you light up the dark. I don't care, go on and tear me apart. I don't care if you do. Cause in a sky full of stars, I think it's all you.
बिकते हैं ये कहाँ भर लेंगे जेबों में दुकानें वो सभी चल चलते हैं यहाँ मौका ऐसा ना गवा यूं ही बेवजह जो भी होगा I'm with you यूं ना घबरा थोड़ा मुस्कुरा जो भी होगा I'm with you एक मैं हूँ और I wanna be with you मेरे पीछे पीछे मैं मेरे आगे आगे तू और एक मैं और एक तू 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 हमको कहते सुपरमैन और कर लो handicap from AM to PM Monday at your service man Now break it down like me girl Then no matter बेमतलब करता बातों में आंसू लिए बस सच रात के लिए सर्दी तबे से है आता सर्दी में हो जानी फिदा बातों में आंसू लिए बस सच रात के लिए सुबह होने ना दे साथ होने ना दे एक दूसरे को होने ना दे तू मेरा हीरो oh 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 तू मेरा हीरो सुबह होने ना दे साथ होने ना दे एक दूसरे को होने ना दे तू मेरा हीरो oh 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 तू मेरा हीरो oh 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 मौका मिला है अभी मौका न फिर ये कभी सनम में नच कर ले मजा तू मच कर ले बाहों में आंसू लिए बस अब जरा के लिए सुबह होने ना दे साथ होने ना दे एक दूसरे को होने ना दे तू मेरा हीरो oh 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 तू मेरा हीरो सुबह होने ना दे साथ होने ना दे एक दूसरे को होने ना दे तू मेरा हीरो oh 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 तू मेरा हीरो oh 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 And now I'm feeling hot That went out to you, Mrs. Meera. Okay, this one's going to be our last one, and it's an impromptu one. And let's hope we can sing it. And he can play it. This was to end my father's jazz lecture. We should have done it together. Summertime, and the living Your daddy's rich.
El Guzo.
And your mother's good looking.
I know that, I told you in the beginning.
So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings we can rise up singing. Then you spread your wings and you take to the sky. But till that morning, there ain't nothing that can harm you now. Your daddy and mommy, they're standing by.
So can
Are
I
you gonna
say,
sing now?
oh, summertime, and the living is easy.
Oh gosh.
Fish are jumping, cotton is high.
So high.
Daddy's rich. I got no money in my pocket, girl.
I have some. I'll share it with you.
Mama's good looking. So hush, pretty baby. Don't you ever wanna cry.
Don't cry, don't cry. That was Summertime in C minor by Dad and me.
That was summertime in winter.
On this pleasant and melodious note, we end today's sessions, and I'd like to thank all the panelists, all the discussants who took out their precious and valuable time and joined us for BLF 2021 and giving us beautiful and insights on various issues. They touched upon various dimensions of art. We learned about Air India, live photography, and different things. I'd like to thank Uttara ji, Meenakshi ji, Ajuni ji, Abhilash ji, Shailaja ji for taking out their valuable and precious time and joining us. I thank all our viewers who have joined us and for their constant love and support. And thank you so much. And see you soon next year for BLF 2022. Hopefully next year we are going to have the event at the prestigious Bharat Bhavan, and I hope the pandemic will end soon and we can have a face-to-face in-person interaction with all the authors, discussants, and our viewers. Thank you so much.